Let's begin working on our solar panel combiner box. We're going to need 3 items. First, the combiner box from Midnight Solar Incorporated. Secondly, the ground fault protection device, also from Midnight Solar Incorporated. And then we're going to need a few inches of the outdoor 10 gauge 2-conductor cable. Let's begin by removing the screw on the front panel of the combiner box. Let's open up the front panel. We're going to need a thin flathead screwdriver to pop the cover off. The combiner box has 2 15-amp circuit breakers and some wiring. In order to install the GFP device into the combiner box, we need to loosen the 2 top screws on the circuit breakers, and we need to shift over the tab on the PV out bus bar so that our GFP device can fit inside the box. Let's go ahead and do that now. Let's loosen the top screws on both of the circuit breakers, and then let's shift that bus bar over so that the tab is no longer sticking out to the side. And let's retighten the top screws on the circuit breakers. We now have plenty of room in our combiner box to install the GFP device. If you will notice, there is a resistor on one side of the GFP device, and that resistor has a leg of bare wire. So when you install the GFP device into the combiner box, make sure that that bare leg of wire is not touching anything, especially the PV out bus bar on the top of the circuit breakers. Let's go ahead and install the GFP device now. Make sure you push in the little yellow tabs on the bottom. Okay, now let's wire it up. Let's begin with the green ground wire coming from the bottom of the GFP device. We only need about 4 or 5 inches, so let's cut off the excess wire with our wire clippers. Now that we have 4 to 5 inches of the green ground wire coming from the bottom of the GFP device, let's go ahead and remove about 1/2 inch of the skin off the end of the wire. You can use the wire clippers to do that, or a utility knife, and again, be careful that you don't cut in to your conductor. Just kind of play with it, circle around it a few times, and then use your fingernails to kind of pull it off. Now that we have about 1/2 inch of the skin removed from the green ground wire, let's go ahead and loosen the top screw on the ground bus. The ground bus has a sticker with the little ground symbol next to it. Then let's maneuver our green wire into place. You may have to go underneath some of the other wiring. Go ahead and feed the wire into the hole. There we go. Make sure that the wire is inside the hole completely without any of the exposed end hanging out, and then let's re-tighten the screw. Make sure it's plenty tight. Okay, now let's do the white wire. Now let's take the white wire coming from the top of the GFP device, and we're going to run it down to the PV negative bus bar, and we're going to mount it in this top mounting hole. We only need about 6 or 7 inches to do that, so let's get our wire clippers and cut off the excess wire. And again, we need to strip about 1/2 inch of the skin off from the end of the white wire. We can do that with our wire clippers. Again, be careful, don't cut into the conductor. Just kind of play with it until it comes off. Now that we've removed about 1/2 inch of skin from the end of the white wire coming from the top of the GFP device, let's go ahead and loosen the screw that's on the top of the PV negative bus bar. Let's take our white wire and bend the end a little bit so we can fit it in that hole. Go ahead and insert the wire all the way in. Don't leave any of the conductor exposed. And tighten down the screw. Make sure it's as snug as possible. Okay, now we're ready to install our last piece of wire. Now grab your coil of 10 gauge outdoor wire and let's cut about 1 foot off the end. You may need some larger wire clippers to do this. Now, using your utility knife, remove the outer layer of skin off of this 1 foot piece of cable. Why? Well, there are 2 pieces of wire inside this cable, and we only need 1 of them. Just cut down the center of the wire. We need to go over it a couple times until the wire opens up. Let's go ahead and remove the red wire that's inside. We can set this other piece of wire aside for now. Make sure we didn't cut through the insulation. Okay, looks good. And again, like we did on the other 2 wires, let's remove 1/2 inch of the skin from the end of both sides of this wire. And we can do this using the utility knife, or we can use our wire cutters. Just keep playing with it until you get that 1/2 inch of skin off both ends. Remember, don't cut in to the conductor. Okay, now we're ready to install this red piece of 10 gauge wire into our combiner box. Now let's take one end of the red 10 gauge cable that we just cut, and we're going to secure it to the PV out bus bar. So let's loosen that top screw. Then let's slide that wire into the hole. Let's tighten down that screw. Make sure again that there's no bare wire exposed. Secure down that screw as much as possible. Okay. Now let's take the other end of our red 1-foot 10 gauge piece of wire. Let's connect it to the bottom of our GFP device. Notice again that the green ground wire is connected to one side of the GFP device. So let's connect our red wire to the other side of the GFP device. We will loosen the screw, then insert our cable, tighten up the screw, make sure there's no bare wire sticking out, tighten it up good and tight, and now our combiner box is ready to be installed with our solar panels. Before we can connect our combiner box to our solar panels, we need to do one more thing. We need to take our roll of outdoor cable and we need to feed one end into the combiner box. So let's do that now. Let's grab our drill and we're going to drill a hole right through the bottom of our combiner box. And then we'll select a little bit larger drill bit. We'll make sure this drill bit is about the same diameter, probably a little bit larger diameter than the outdoor cable that we're going to insert into the combiner box. Once you've drilled the hole through the bottom of the combiner box, grab a file and knock down some of the sharp edges, especially on the inside. After you're done filing down the sharp edges, make sure you blow out all of the metal shavings from inside the combiner box. Now let's grab one end of the 2-conductor outdoor cable and let's remove about 8 inches of the outer skin. We'll do that with our utility knife. Cut down the center of the cable. Be careful not to cut through to the other 2 cables inside. Peel back the skin. Until we've got about 8 inches of it pulled down. And then let's just cut off the last little bit. Now before we actually feed the cable into the combiner box and wire it up, let me show you one more thing that will save you some hassle later on. In order to get power from your solar panels to the battery bank in your garage, you'll probably need to run your outdoor cable underground for at least some distance. Now technically you can bury this outdoor cable directly underneath the ground. However, I would use some scrap PVC That will just make the cable last longer over time. If you need to use some PVC pipe close to where your combiner box is, I would recommend running the end of your cable that's going to connect to the combiner box through the PVC pipe first. That will save you some hassle later on. Okay, we're done running the outdoor cable through the PVC. Now remember, your yard, your layout is going to be different than mine. And so you're going to have to be creative in the way that you run your outdoor cable. But there are some important things to remember. Even though this cable is outdoor cable, it will last a lot longer if you keep it from being exposed to sunlight all the time. I'm going to run it next to my house behind these bushes. And then up this wall, through a hole into my attic and down to my battery bank. Now that I've finished running my outdoor cable through the PVC pipe, I'm going to go ahead and connect this end to our solar panel combiner box. Before we install the outdoor cable into the combiner box, let's do two things. First, let's cut an inch off of the black conductor. And then let's remove about a ½ inch of skin from both the red and black conductors. We can use our wire cutters to do this as usual. Now that we've removed a ½ inch of skin from both the red and black conductors in the outdoor cable, let's go ahead and install these cables into the combiner box. Now let's feed the outdoor cable into the combiner box. Pull it through until some of the outside black skin pokes through into the combiner box. And then let's go ahead and install the red wire. The red wire is going to connect to the top of the GFP device. Notice again that the white wire is connected to one side of the GFP device. So we're going to connect the red wire to the other side of the GFP device. Let's go ahead and loosen the screw. Slide that red wire down into the GFP device. Make sure there's no bare wire showing, and tighten down the screw. Now let's connect the black wire from the outdoor cable to the PV negative bus bar. Let's go ahead and loosen one of the screws from the larger holes on the PV negative bus bar. And let's insert the black wire and tighten the screw as tight as you can go. Okay, our combiner box is now ready to mount next to our solar panels. When you select the location to mount your combiner box, remember to look at the two sets of connectors on the bottom of the box. These connectors need to mate with the 4 connectors that are coming from your solar panels. When you mount the combiner box, make sure that the solar panel cables can reach their respective connectors on the bottom of the combiner box. Once you've selected your location for the combiner box, get some galvanized screws, use the holes in the bottom of the combiner box, get a screwdriver, and secure the combiner box to its selected location. With our combiner box now secured, I'm going to put a little bit of RTV in the hole where the outdoor cable comes through into the combiner box. And remember, don't connect the solar panel cables into the combiner box yet. That will come at a later time. Our combiner box is now connected beneath our solar panels, and we've run our outdoor wire all the way down into our trench through some PVC pipe along the wall of our house behind those bushes into the garage and to our battery bank. This step is now complete.